What up, gang? Carolina Jackpot time coming at you on Tuesday morning. I hope everybody's doing well today. It is officially fall in the upstate of South Kakalaka, guys. 44 degrees as of me filming this. It's officially hoodie weather and quite nippy as I emptied some stuff out of my storage unit to get ready to go to work this morning. We'll be wearing these probably out in the morning and from now until about, I would say April or so, the 1st of April. But it's all good. We're 7 weeks into the college football season. In terms of how you look at it, everybody has had at least one bye week by now. Everybody's played at least 6 games by now. Or they will have as of tonight. There are some football games tonight on. There's 3 of them, which none of them are great games, or none of them feature great teams, I should say, or big name teams. But I would rather watch Troy and South Alabama duke it out, or Kennesaw and Middle Tennessee, than I would rather watch playoff baseball. That's just me, and if you're watching this channel, you probably feel the same way as far as that goes. Well, we wanted to look at some teams right now and talk about some fan bases, gauge some temperatures of some fan bases, and talk about how you feel right now through 6 games of the regular season, about your team, their chances, what you've seen, what you want to see going forward. And I also want to talk about some spoiled teams, some spoiled fan bases, and some crybabies on the internet. So we'll get into all that. But first, if you're new around here, consider staying true around here. Subscribe to the Carolina Jackpot channel, please, while you're at it. And please hit the thumbs up on this video. I put out a lot of content the past week or so, and we've brought the heat in terms of you guys watching it, but you haven't always hit the thumbs up. That's, optional. You can feel free to hit the thumbs up if you want to, but I would encourage you to do so. It helps me out a little bit, and it's just a good look for the channel. So hit the thumbs up if you don't mind. First of all, just my team. First of all, South Carolina Gamecocks at 3-3 right now. Fan base seems to be divided. It's been divided for the past 10 years. And even before that, when South Carolina was having some success and winning 11 games a year, first team in the state of South Carolina to do it 3 times in a row, by the way. First one to also finish in the top 10 3 times in a row, but nobody talks about that anymore. Things have always been divided. You always had people on one side of the fence or the other. It is obviously we've lost 2 games now by a total of 5 points to 2 top 10 teams. Now, LSU wasn't top 10 when we played them, but they are now. Where do you look at? You have a large segment of the fan base who blames the coaches. Then you've got some of the fan base who is kind of on the side of, well, while not necessarily that they don't blame the coaches, they kind of want to light into the players and the execution. I'm kind of in the middle on a lot of that. I think that Shane Beamer has made some strange, boneheaded hires on the offensive side of the football. He flipped over a large percentage of his offensive staff after last season, but to me, the coaches that needed to be replaced, they don't get replaced. That being offensive line, strength and conditioning, and you might want to look from the outside looking in at offensive coordinator. But after last season, I don't think it was really fair to replace Dowell Loggins after 1 year. Although that's been done plenty of times in the past by other teams when they were, but we blame injuries, we blame youth, whatever we could to explain away the fact that he's not a good offensive coordinator. I explained it away with injuries of the offensive line, saying that a lot of plays we don't know how they would have developed because everything got blown up. But you look here at 2024, you still have a lot of the same issues to work on. Offensive line, I would say it's improved slightly, but not very much. It's improved in terms of run blocking, but pass pro has not been as effective. You've given up a ton of sacks. I don't know how many of you've given up. It's over 20 at this point, which is just absolutely dreadful. A lot of that is on a redshirt freshman quarterback holding on to the ball too long, though. But you've got to still place a lot of the blame on the offensive line. So, going forward, there are winnable games on South Carolina's schedule. It's not easy. The schedule it's tough every year, and you have some pockets of games that are more winnable than others. And you are heading into a stretch right now where you've got a couple of 3 home games that are winnable, but also you're probably not going to be favored in. Look, your back's going to be against the wall the rest of the year. You probably won't be favored in but one other game. And the fact that Vanderbilt is doing what they're doing right now, and you've got teams like Indiana who have come up off the mat and are doing what they're doing right now. There's others out there that have been punched in the mouth and have rebounded this year. Iowa State, a prime example. Ranked, I think, number 7 right now. They had a losing record last year. It's just absolutely dreadful to me, and it just makes me want to just crash my head against a wall. That South Carolina cannot seem to put it freaking together one damn year and at least have one damn pop year for us. You just can't do it, though, can you? But Vanderbilt can do it? Jesus Christ, give me a break. Give me a break. I don't understand, guys. I really don't get it. I want to make this a South Carolina video, so let's move on. But the temperature with Gamecocks is lukewarm. We continue to remain positive. You're still sitting here at 3-3. You're going on the road this weekend. I want to talk about this game tomorrow. But you go on the road against a team that's beatable. They've proven to be beatable. Had some piss poor showings against both Tennessee and Texas in terms of offensively. But yet again, those are 2 really good teams. So, how much can we take from that? It is a road game. You are an underdog, a slight underdog. I don't know. There are a lot of people out there picking South Carolina to win. I don't know how confident I am in it. Because you seem to just shit the bed just to be shitting the bed. So, you can take from that what you like. The Clemson Tiger fan base, where are they at right now? They're sitting here at 5-1. They're sitting pretty. They're back in a familiar position again, aren't they? Beating up on taffy-ass, terrible teams, and, getting blown out by the elite competition on their schedule. Now, Georgia, I'll talk about them in a second. Are they elite? I don't know. That's up to you. They got a big game this weekend. If they could win it, they could certainly move quickly back into the conversation of being in the elite status, but they haven't been playing like it. Clemson, just rolling along. I will say this, they have seemed to have fixed their offense, because last year they were struggling with these same type of taffy teams. But this year they're blowing them out. And one of the things that I pointed to, not only, the obvious is that I think Dabo is taking his hand out of the offense, because he doesn't need his hand in the offense. It's clear he doesn't know what he's doing. and turned it over to Garrett Riley. Why do I always say that? I guess because they're brothers, right? He's turned the play calling over to Garrett Riley, which you should have done all along. I mean, the dude was the assistant coach of the year in 2022, wasn't he? I mean, hell, he managed to score 7 points in the national championship game. I mean, what an offensive mind. But you turn the play calling stuff over to him. It's working. You see Cade Klubnik progress. And admittedly, I haven't watched a whole ton of Clemson football this year because a lot of their games have been on at the same time that Carolina's games have been on. Or I just wasn't interested. But they look a lot better. And what people don't talk about as much is the improvements on the offensive line. The offensive line looks a lot better. Why? Did they add a bunch of players? No. Did they get a bunch of top-notch recruits? I don't know. Maybe one or two. Those probably not playing right now, though. What did they do? They went out and got a valid offensive line coach. They went out and got Matt Luke, who was kind of just lingering out here in between jobs / retirement. I mean, whatever he was doing. He's a heck of an offensive line coach. Not a real good head coach, but he knows what he's doing, and you can just see the progression from that unit. Why other teams won't follow suit, I don't know. Why other teams choose to remain status quo and we're going to poo-poo around and blame everything on injuries and youth instead of just cutting the head off the snake, as our buddy Josh Pate would say, and taking a different approach. I'll never know. I don't know. I don't make those decisions. So the temperature of their fan base is pretty warm. Pretty warm right now. The team we're playing this weekend, Oklahoma, what's their fan base looking like? They're not exactly thrilled. They are 4-2. Yet another team that kind of got fat off some weak competition earlier in the season. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that Tulane is definitely weak competition. That's a pretty good group of 5 team. But they also struggled to beat Houston, which has not been a very good team since they moved to the Power 4. Excuse me. So, looked suspect against Auburn. Got handled at home against Tennessee. Game really wasn't that competitive. They ended up making it look competitive at the end. The final score made it look like it was competitive, but it's not. And then last week against Texas, your rival, you absolutely just get blown out. Can't do anything offensively. Mississippi State had a better offensive showing than Oklahoma did, which Mississippi State's head coach is an offensive-minded head coach, and Oklahoma's not. But still, I mean, Mississippi State is supposed to be the worst team in the SEC, and they had a much, much better offensive showing against Texas than what Oklahoma did, and you are supposed to be their rival. In our contest, I almost took Oklahoma because of the fact of the rivalry. I'm glad I didn't. On that one. So that fan base is kind of in a fire everybody mode. Brent Venables is not the answer. Fire the offensive coordinator. I get it. You don't look good. You do play my Gamecocks this weekend. I don't know. I don't know how I'm in a position to pick South Carolina to win this game. I have the Gamecock Blues. The Gamecock Blues. It happens just all because I've seen this same story repeat itself so many times that I can almost read it chapter for chapter, verse for verse. Georgia fans, where are they at right now? I think they're kind of lukewarm right now. Pleased with the 5-1 record, but you've I won't say you did struggle to beat Kentucky. You can spin it any way you want, but you were just lucky that Kentucky was just a little bit too inept to take you down. in that ball game. Mississippi State, once again, I mean, I wouldn't call it a struggle, but you played with your food a lot. Gave up 31 points at home. That's a lot of points for Georgia to be giving up, especially against a team of that caliber. Yeah, that was not Tennessee coming in there. It was not LSU coming in. That was hell, that wasn't even Vanderbilt coming in. So they've got some things to work on, and I think they know that. And I think that a lot of the Georgia fans are they're maybe worn out with this, this off the field chicanery, bullcrap type stuff. These speeding tickets, all these domestic violence charges, all this garbage that seems to be spewing from within that program. And you can, it's just weird. I talked about Kirby Smart the other week and that South Carolina needed a disciplinarian like him, and I was laughed at. Well, I wasn't talking so much in terms of the entire program. I was talking in terms of on the field on Saturdays. On the field on Saturdays, generally those guys have been doing their job and they've been winning at a high level. But right now is maybe the off the field attitude and the I'm good at football. I'm getting paid a little bit of money, so I can go out and really do whatever I want to, and ain't nobody gonna say shit to me type of attitude, maybe boiling over to the way they play on Saturdays, when in past seasons it has not been. Maybe he's losing a little bit of control of that. I mean, could we possibly look at it that way? And I'm not here to talk smack on the Georgia man or to downgrade your program. But you got a big game Saturday, you could win it, and all that talk would magically disappear. But I think it's something. It's something to look at. So right now, I think the Georgia fan base is a little bit lukewarm. Fringing on. Still, they know they're good, and they know we're going to be all right. This too shall pass type attitude. I think that's kind of where they're at right now. Who else? The Tennessee fan base. Where are they at right now? I don't think they're entirely thrilled right now. Yet, still sitting here at 5-1, with a loss to Arkansas, and an extremely near miss against Tennessee, a game in which you really didn't win. Florida lost. Billy Napier with just some, I don't know, questionable play calling at the end. I mean, why is it this guy has like 45 assistant coaches? He had more assistant coaches in the team picture than he did actual players. And yet he's still calling his own plays. And the thing about him is he ain't calling them good. He'll hit lightning in a bottle every now and again. The one little seam route pass from Lagway there at the end of the game, it was a great play. It was a beautiful throw and catch. May have been some breakdown on the Tennessee back end. I don't know, but to me it looked good. But then you score and you've got a decision to make. Are you going to win this game right now? You got 3 yards, pal. 3 yards to a huge upset victory in which you were a 14-point underdog or thereabouts, and going to overtime and having about an 80% chance of losing because you're playing on the road. And you choose to go to overtime and you predictably lose the game to the Voltards. I was so damn mad coming home watching that. I watched the end of it at a gas station, the end of regulation, on my trip home from Alabama, and then I watched it unfold on the way home in the truck, and man, I was so mad. I was so mad at them for that. You could have done it. You could have pulled off a huge victory there, but you didn't. And Billy Napier has no balls. It's just no. I'll no longer refer to him as Sunbelt Billy. He's now Sunbelt Pussy. He's Sunbelt Pussy. You could have won it right there. Anyway, but the Tennessee fan base, I don't think they're checked out on Nico. Okay, his performance the last couple of games has not been great. Okay, his performance against teams, not named NC State or Chattanooga or what have you, has not been great. But they're not giving up on the guy. They still realize he's young. He's got a lot to learn still about the game. I mean, he's had a few good games. He's had some not so good games. He really, really in those blowout wins, I mean, you're blowing these teams out. So what do? I mean, sportsmanship dictates that you would take your starters out of those games. Common sense dictates you would take your starters out of those games to preserve them. But, maybe he needed a little bit more reps. Maybe he needed one more series against Chattanooga. Maybe he needed one more series against Kent State or whoever the hell. Just to get some more repetitions under his belt. I don't know. I'm not Josh Heupel. I'm not a coach. But I'm just telling you what I see as a fan, that, these young guys, they need all the work they can get. And if you run the score up, you run the score up. And, yeah, people like me are going to point and laugh at you for doing that and talk crap about you behind your back for doing it. But at the same time, it's your job to go out there and give these guys reps and give them in-game reps. If you're blowing them out, you're blowing them out. They need to stop you from scoring. Back in the 30 for 30 documentary, the very first one, when Jimmy Johnson, former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys also, and coach of those 1980s Miami teams, talked about when they blew Notre Dame out in 1985. They beat them 56-7. And there were a lot of people that were just up in arms because he kept scoring in the fourth quarter. And he said, well, I put the backups in. He said, and then I put their backups in. He said, and we still kept scoring. He said, so I'm not going to apologize for running up the score. He said, it's not my fault that they couldn't stop us from scoring. He's like, I'm not going to apologize for being good, in other words. So there's that. Who else we got to talk about here? Florida Gator fan base, the aforementioned group. Temperature in Gainesville is just boiling over right now. They want Billy Napier gone yesterday. Hey, and I can't really say that I blame you, but at 3-3, did you guys really expect? Did you expect to be in a different situation than where you're at right now? Everybody talked about the schedule, off season, how awful it was, how hard it was, potentially the most difficult schedule in college football. And it looks to have possibly lightened up a little bit, because you got Mizzou on the schedule, who I don't think is as good as people thought that they were. You have Ole Miss on there, who I don't think is as formidable as people probably thought that they were going to be. You got Georgia on there, who it's determined whether they're going to be as formidable as we thought they were going to be. But then you got who is it? Somebody tell Jackpot I'm losing. Texas is on there. They're probably a little more formidable than what they thought they were going to be, and we already thought they were going to be pretty formidable. Florida State has turned out to be a joke. So there's one that's not as formidable. So it really wasn't as bad as everybody thought it was going to be. You're 3-3. Disappointing loss, of course, Saturday. Very disappointing. Should have won that ball game. Got blown out in your opener. But there's been, you had a good win over UCF, I guess. Pretty impressive win over Mississippi State. I guess. Look, what you've really done here is, you want to be elite so bad you can't stand it. The fact of the matter is, you don't really have the long-term pedigree to be elite. Y'all were really good for a stretch of from about 1989 to 2009-ish. Right? Except for the Ron Zook years. Other than that, you've been pretty mediocre. You just regressed to the mean. Except for the few years when you had Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen won you an SEC championship in 2020. Took you to a couple of New Year's Six bowls. And then he has, one bad season where things fall apart, which kind of started, you had a bad loss to my Gamecocks, and you had some other bad losses down the stretch there, but he had a bad season coupled with he made a couple of off-color comments about recruiting. And I get it. People get frustrated. People get tired of hearing that shit all the time. And he kind of lashed out. Y'all should have never got rid of him. You really never should have. And you know that. Deep down, you know that. So now we're stuck here with Sunbelt Pussy. And what are we going to do with him? Well, he's going to get fired. He'll be gone by the end of the year. At some point, I don't know whether it's going to be after the conclusion of the season or during the season. I guess it depends on your play on the field. But that fan base has just absolutely lost it. And look, I get being disappointed. I really do. Lord knows I've lived my share of that. But, at some point, you got to kind of figure out, are we going to make another boneheaded hire here? What are we really doing? Florida fan base, boiling over. Last one I want to talk about, there's a lot of fan bases out there I have failed to mention. I guess the Notre Dame fan. How's the Notre Dame fan? You're probably feeling pretty good right now. Feeling pretty good? What are you, 5-1? Fixing to break into the top 10? Maybe you've already broken the top 10. Not really sure. Can't remember. You got a big test coming up this Saturday with the Nerds. You going to be able to beat the Nerds? I don't know. That's another fan base that's getting kind of chesty. Lord, they're obsessed with beating up on Jeff Collins, ain't they? Lord, I saw old Rec Talk and Sea-Dog and all those guys clowning on Jeff Collins. After they beat him down, they were still clowning on him. It was after it was over with. Damn, the body's dead. Stop kicking it. Leave it alone. Throw it in a hole and bury it and move on, people. Y'all won. Florida, but Georgia Tech's getting pretty chesty. We'll see. I don't know if they're going to be able to handle Notre Dame or not. I'm saying not, but I could be surprised. But the last one I was want to talk about here, the Alabama fans. These people have absolutely, you've lost your minds. Vanderbilt made you lose your mind, and then almost losing to the Gamecocks, about damn put you in the insane asylum. Y'all are crazy. You really are. I watched a panel of 4 Alabama analysts / YouTubers yesterday that just randomly popped up on my YouTube feed. None of them very good. None of them really knew what they're talking about. One of them just sitting here screaming, acting like a child the entire time about a college football team. Who does that? Yeah. But I get it. Y'all are used to a certain standard of excellence. And now you're not getting it. The thing is, I mean, it's not like you people have been winning the damn national championship every year. I mean, what? Georgia won, what, the past two? And then Michigan won last year. The last one you won was in 2020. And before that, LSU won it. Then the Taters beat up on you the year before that. And then you won one year before. I mean, you had a run there from about 2008 through about 2017, 18, when you were winning it or competing for it every single year. Then 2019 happened, LSU took it. Then 2020 happened in the COVID year. I mean, you put your national championship stuff on live support, it comes back, you win one. But then, I mean, after that, Georgia reels off a couple of road to Michigan. So it's not like you've been winning the national championship every year and you don't know what losing feels like. Give a little credit to Vanderbilt. I mean, they played hard. You were not ready for them, and they submarined your ass. And it's pretty much the same thing happened with the Gamecocks. I mean, you would think that's the part that would make me upset, though, as a fan. After the loss to Vanderbilt, the team should have been dialed in. And they wasn't dialed in. So, yeah, that would make me question Kalen DeBoer and his staff and, just what they're doing to get the team prepared for Saturdays. It's head-scratching. I get it. But you act like you've never lost a game before. You act like you've never had any sort of tough situations, or that you've never experienced any sort of tough situations in terms of as a fan base before. You know why? Because I think a lot of you are bandwagon fans. That's exactly why. You're bandwagon babies. And now you're having to deal with the reality that the rest of college football has been living in for the past eternity, and you don't like it. Well, look, either your team's going to have to start playing better, coaches are going to have to start getting their head out of their ass and executing a game plan and taking advantage of that talent, or you're going to fall off the map somewhat. Do I think Alabama's going to fall out of the top 25 and become a team that's just like a fringe bowl team every year? No, I don't. I really don't. But I think you may end up regressing to becoming a team that's in playoff conversation pretty much every year. Not a team that's in the 2 or 3 that are mentioned to win the national championship every year. And that's just where we're at. And you're just going to have to deal with that reality. Nick Saban was one of a kind. Things like this happen when programs change coaches. You're not the first one that it's happened to, and you damn sure won't be the last. So either you want to be an Alabama fan, you need to suck it up and start trying to support your team. Yeah, criticize when it's due, but don't go out and act like you need to be committed somewhere because they lost a game and then they played a close one. You're still 5-1. You're ranked number 7. There are some of us out there that would absolutely kill for our team to be in the position that yours is in. Just saying. Anyway, that's about all I got to say about it, guys. That was a long video. What do you guys think about it? Tell me about what's the temperature on some other fan bases that I didn't mention. Am I correct in my assessments? Am I a blithering idiot? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'll see y'all later on. Appreciate you. Peace. And I'm out of here. Go Gamecocks. Woo!